Time to write another exponential equation from 2 points. And again, when we see to write an exponential equation from points, we assume there's no shifts in the equation. So we can go ahead and use y equals a times b to the x as kind of our starting equation here. First thing I do is I'm going to take my 2 sets of points and I'm going to write 2 separate equations out of those, plugging the y value in for y and plugging the x value in for x each time. And so that gives us these 2 equations. Next up, I want to solve one of those equations for a. It doesn't actually matter which one you do, but I do find it easier to solve the one that has the smaller exponent in it. So I'm going to use that first one again. And so I'm going to divide both sides by b to the power of 3. And so I'm going to have a equal to 1,920 over b cubed. All right, I'm now going to take that a value and I'm going to plug that in for a in the other equation. And so now I have those 2 b's on the right-hand side there, which I now want to combine. The b to the 8th is over b cubed. So I'm dividing those b's, which means I subtract their exponents. So I'm going to do 8 minus 3 there. And so then my new equation is going to be 60 equals 1,920 times b to the 5th power. All right, we still are trying to get b by itself. Next thing, divide both sides by the 1,920. And when you do that, you actually get a decimal in this case. Now, thankfully, it's not an irrational number. It's not some decimal that goes on forever or is really difficult to work with. The 0.03125 is the entire decimal, so I'm going to go ahead and write down all of it. All right, I now need to take the 5th root of that. And so remember that that 5th root means taking my 0.03125 to the power of 1/5, because that is the same as the 5th root. And so I type that into my calculator then, and I come out with an answer that b equals 0.5. That's it, it's just a half. Now this can totally happen with these types of situations. A hint that this was going to happen in this case, that we're going to end up with a decimal as our b value. You'll notice that as my exponent increased, that is my x value increased, you notice that my y value decreased. And so that tells me that this is actually a situation where the values are getting smaller as we go to the right. So then that means that our b value would have to be something between 0 and 1. All right, we still got to go finish this problem off though, because we found our b value, but we still don't have our a value. So I'm going to take that b value and I'm going to plug it into one of the equations that I have up here. I'm going to use this one because that one's already solved for a, and I'm trying to figure out what a is here. So we're going to go a equals 1920 over 0.5 cubed. And again, all you got to do is plug that into your calculator now to figure out what that would be. And we end up with a equal to 15,360, which means that my final equation here is going to be y equals 15,360 times 0.5 to the power of x. And if you want to write this 0.5 instead as just 1/2, that's perfectly fine. That's also allowable, but 0.5 is also fine as well.